All right, we are back with another video. Let me just adjust it here. Okay. All right, we are back. I just have to turn the sound off so that I can see what we're doing. And why it's not moving. And why am I having a shadow here? I don't know. Where's the shadow coming from? I hate shadows. Okay, so what we're doing today is we are doing a tutorial on a 4x6 mini album. And we're going to decorate it as well with Graphic 45. And I'm going to use Ocean Blue. It's one of the new collections that they have, and it's absolutely stunning. I hope it's going to stay here for a while. So I'm doing a small 4x6. It's going to be this size. Here I've done a sample one. I haven't decorated it yet, but it's going to be a 4x6 one with, you know, a couple fun interactive pages. And the nice thing about it is that I designed it to only use 6 pages from the collection. And so it will leave you enough there to do a bigger album if you like. So the pages that I've used from the collection are Fiji. I don't know why I said Fuji. I'm going to use Fiji. I'm going to use Corfu. This is the other side of Fiji, and this is the other side of Corfu. I'm going to use Antigua. This is one side, and this is the other. Belize. And that's the other side of Belize. A Capri. And the other side of Capri. And Ocean Blue. This is the other side of Ocean Blue. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages only. Okay, and I'm going to use white cardstock, 8.5 by 11. This is just regular Paper Studio white cardstock. And 1 sheet of 12 by 12 chipboard. All right, so I already cut everything out and prepared it and scored it and glued it, and I'm going to assemble it together with you. In the tutorial sheet that you'll get, you're gonna have all of the measurements for it. So if it has measurements for the cardstock as well as measurements for all the designer paper, and it tells you exactly which paper I used it from. And when this set is all done, there'll be virtually 0 waste, which I love. You know, just really a few minor scraps. Okay, so we're gonna start with taking the cardstock. And I'm going to go over with you all of the measurements. Okay, and I think what I'll do is I'll put it up on my computer so that I'll have it right in front of me, and it just makes it so much easier If you bear with me one more second, I will pull it up. It's a good way for me to see that all of the instructions are correct and I don't have to add anything before I post it. All right. Here we go. Okay, so applied tape. Sorry, before I apply tape, I have 2 pieces of chipboard cut to 4x6s and one that's cut to 1x4. And I already put tape all around both sides. And this one I have tape from top to bottom, and here I left the 2 sides alone. Okay, so I'm going to put it side by side so that there is space between the parts, and the long one is in the middle, and the space that you'll need is approximately twice the size of this chipboard. So if my chipboard is a 1/16 of an inch, this will be about an 1/8 of an inch, something like that. If the chipboard is an 1/8 of an inch, this will be a 1/4 inch. So basically you're taking twice the chipboard and you're making the space. The space that I need to make for this is approximately 1/4 inch. Then I have 2 pieces of white cardstock that I cut to 5.5 by 11. All right, and I put tape only on a little bit on the edge here because here I already have tape all around those areas. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it underneath just to make sure that it's okay, and it'll be something like that. And then I'm going to wrap up the areas, and then this one will go here. And I'm going to have to cut this one so that it'll be enough for it won't be too long. I don't need it too long. Okay, so that's the idea. Let's take this and get where my pick is. My pick. I didn't organize my desk before I sat down, which is always a mistake. All right. Take the tape off one side. And I'm gonna need a little bin for this trash. 1 second. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I took the tape off here, so I'm going to go ahead and place it right there. I don't know where I want it. I want it this way. I want the tape that I put to be here. Okay, I'm going to remove the side here where I have the tape all the way. Place it here. I can take this off now. these off. Okay. And I am turning this over. So I have the two tapes that I put right here next to each other, right there. This way I'm making sure that it is sticking to it pretty good. I want this one to be this way. Okay. I'm gonna put it there. Just gonna make sure that it's there good. All right. I'm gonna cut this paper here because I really don't need the whole entire thing here. So I'm just gonna cut it. Off. Okay. All right, so what happens is around here you have about 3/4, maybe a little more of an inch all around, which is just about what you need. You want to have about 1/8 of an inch for the fold and another at minimum of 1/2 inch from the after you fold it, so that it will adhere to the sides. Okay, now over here I didn't put anything yet, but I am going to do it now. Let's take some tape. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to cut the end of the corners in triangle so that when I fold it, the paper is not going to overlap. But I don't want to cut it all the way close to the corner right there. I want to leave enough to cover it. So I'm going to cut it just about here. So if the height of my chipboard is about 1/8 of an inch, I want to leave a minimum of 1/8 of an inch over here around the corners. And I will be cutting it just about here. Okay, and I'm gonna repeat, I'm gonna do the same on all sides. Now I'm going to start folding the paper a little bit just to work it, just to give it a little direction. And go over it and fold it and iron it so that you'll be able to fold it easy when the glue is off. Okay, so just work the paper, fold it, iron it. And this is the movement. You go from the bottom around. You can use your fingers or you can use a tool, however you like to do it. And don't be aggressive, just do it gently, because if you're aggressive with the paper, it will tear. But if you're gentle with it, it'll fall nicely and easy. and it'll do what you want it to do. Okay, so let's start taking these off. And I'm leaving the middle parts there. I'm gonna do the sides, the long sides first, and then I'll do those, the smaller size. Okay, now when I do the sides, I have to work the corners a little bit. Just squish them a little and make sure it wraps around the corner nicely. You just want to work the paper a little and then wrap it around. So this way the corner is covered. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to bend it a little bit. I will take my tool, and as I'm working it, I am pushing the paper inside. And as I'm folding this way, I'm just going to do this slowly and work it slow. If you do it fast, you can tear the paper. If you do it slow, you're working the paper and you let it bend so that it will go where you want it to go. Especially the outer part. So just do it slowly and gently. And create creases in it. And there you go. Okay. And this is what we're looking for on the outer part. Now for the inner part, all right, let me just go back up a little. All right, so this was A1, the spine was A2. The inside paper, I don't know if I cut this, yeah, A4. Cut A4, I only cut one. Why? I don't think I cut it correctly. Let me see. All right, I'm not sure I cut it correctly, but we can do it again. I don't know if I cut it at all. All right, so for the inside, I need 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, right? Nope, I need 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. I need this to be 3 7/8 by 5 1/2, so bear with me 1 second. I just need to check something here. This is, okay, 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. Okay, that's why the measurement was not correct on this, and I did not cut it to the correct size. So A4 will be 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. I'm going to cut 2 of them. That's more like it. Okay, well, this is A4. We need 2, and I'm going to repeat it. It's 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. I don't know why I had it 4 1/4 there instead of 3 7/8. Was probably calculating a score line for some reason, which is just a matter of habit, I guess. So I'm usually taping everything around, and then if it's a little bigger than 3 inches, I put a little bit of it in the center as well. You can choose to do liquid glue in the center, but around the corners I like to use dry tape. It just doesn't bend the paper. It keeps it nice and flat. Okay. All right, so let's see. Now, before I put this in, I have a piece of A3. And A3 is 3 7/8 by 3. The 3 7/8 are here and the 3 here, and I'm going to put it right in the center. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want it to cover both creases. I'm going to remove the glue here. And as you can see here, I applied glue all around. So where I'm taking this off now, it will fall in the middle. Okay. So this will be right there in the center. And before I put the other two pieces, I'm just going to work the creases again with my little tool. And because this time I'm folding it inwards, I'm going to work the paper just a little bit more. Just try to bring it in. Again, I'm not pushing, I'm just going over it again and again, making sure that it's nice and tight in there. And slowly bending it and tightening the paper. Here we go. Nice. So now it's nice and clean. I gave the paper direction. Okay. One second. I'll be right back. Everything else is here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so now we're done with the creases, and we will apply A4s. And because I made it a little bit smaller than the cover itself, it's fine. Just put it in the center this way, so it covers it nicely. And 7/8 by 5.5. Made it 5.5. You can even do it a little longer than 5.5 because I still have a good 1/8 of an inch on each side here. So I might change it. Okay. Okay, here we go. That's beautiful. Okay, so this is the cover, inside and out. It's all done. Now we're going to go ahead and build that piece of, I have cardstock that I cut for the buckle, and I'm just going to get that out of the way now. This is B4. I cut it to 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. I put tape all around. This is a 3 by 3. Okay. And this goes right here in the center. So when I fold it this way. I'm going to take the tape off now. And I'm going to put it right smack in the center. Cut triangles, and again I'm leaving a little bit of space there. Now right now I'm using a thinner chipboard than I used for the covers. It's not as thick. I don't need a real thick heavy one there. And I'm going to bend the two sides. Work my corners again. Okay. And island them. All right, so this will be the base for my buckle. I'm gonna later put designer paper here and attach it. Okay, put it on the side for now. All right, the next part that we're gonna do, let's flip it over so we'll see. I think this moved a little bit. Okay. Next part that I'm going to do, why do I have this thing always here in my window, in my computer? Oh, here we go. I have all the things there that I don't need to see, and it's disrupting my view. Okay, so now we go on to parts B1 and B2. We scored B1 and B2 here. And when we scoring all the parts, it's always 1/2 inch unless stated otherwise. Sometimes I'll have you score twice if I want a thicker fold. Sometimes I'll have you score 1 inch. If I didn't mention anything, then it is always 1/2 inch scored. In the sheet of the measurements that you'll get, you will have an S next to the side, next to the measurement where you want it scored. So it'll say 5 by 4 and S in parentheses by the 4, which means that once you score 1/2 inch off the side that's 4 inches, it'll be 3.5. All right. So here I had you cut 5 and let me see, I can't see, 5 7/8 by 4.5. So this is the 5 7/8 right here, and this is the 4.5. So you cut it 4.5, and I put an S next to 4.5, which means you scored 1/2 inch here, and you ended up with 5 7/8 by 4. Okay, now again, you'll have a diagram of this in the instructions to remind you where you need to score, and all of the measurements of all the cardstocks that you are going to have to score will tell you which side you will need to score. And that's a good thing to have, because when you're doing a project, you can use that sheet and cut all your pieces of paper, score them, tape them, and then just assemble, and it goes a lot faster. All right, so we're going to go ahead and score, which we did, and now we're going to fold it. All right, so we're folding. And now we're going to take parts B1, B2, right? Okay. These are B4, B5. So these were B1 and B2. These are B4 and B5. And B4 and B5, I have in the instructions to score them twice. Now I wanted to show you what I mean by scoring twice. I only scored them once here. Score them twice means I want another score right there. So after I did the half an inch scoring, I'm going to go back and score it again after 1/8 of an inch. Okay. I'm sorry, I scored it the wrong side. There we go. And the reason that I do that is because I want a crease, like so. I want the crease to be wider, because this is going to have to overlap all of the other papers that I have there and cover it. So here it is to show you both of the score lines that I've done right here on this side before I fold it. And you're folding it twice. And here you go. You have about 1/8 of an inch thickness right there. Okay. Now we're going to put it onto the page. So this is my left page, this is my right page. I have a top flap, I have a bottom flap, and I have 2 side flaps. Now, if you notice, my top flap is longer than my bottom one. Okay. And the reason is because I am assembling them together so that they will close on top of each other. If they're the same length, it will interrupt. So it has to be a little further from it. Okay. So where we go, we have inside. We did there. Why is not moving? I'm sorry about that. Cardstock cuts, B1, B2, B3. B1 is the top flap. It is 5 7/8 by 4 1/2. And the bottom flap is a B2, and it is 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. So it's just slightly smaller in measurements than the other one. So let's remove the tape from B1, and we're going to apply it on the top. And just so that I make sure that I'm putting it nice and straight, I'm going to turn it around. And I want it right in the center. I don't want it on the hinge. I want it right here in the center. Good. And I'm going to remove the tape from B2, which is the bottom flap. It is 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to put it on the bottom part, right in the center, as close as possible to the edge. Okay, so I wanted, hey, stop. So I'm putting it close to the edge, but not all the way there. Okay, so that when it closes, girls, stop. My dogs are fooling around, they're playing, and they're being rowdy. Okay, this is the left flap. The left flap will go this way here. And again, I'm putting it in the center of the left side. And this is the right flap, and the right flap I'll put right here. Now the way I'm going to put the right flap before I put it on, I am going to fit it right here in the center so that I know it's laid nice and even. Okay, I laid it, and then I'm going to tighten it. Okay, so this is my top flap, my bottom flap, my right and my left. I'm going to be covering those soon, but for now I want to just write the numbers. Just so that it's easier when I'm doing the tutorial to follow. Okay, so this was B1. I'm writing it with a pencil. This was B2. This is B4. And this is B5. I'm going to repeat the measurements of B4 is 2 1/8 by 4 1/8. And you have the score line here, and it's a double score. And this is B5 is 6 5/8 by 3. And the score line is right here. Okay. We said that this here, this is A1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the waterfall. The waterfall will go on the outside of B1. And the waterfall is B3. And for B3, I cut 7 pieces. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I read you the dimensions, I think, of the designer cuts, did I? I'm not sure. No, I read you the correct ones. Okay, the B3 are 7 pieces of 3 1/2 by 3 1/2, and they are scored on one side. So after you score the 3 1/2 and 3 1/2 squares, you actually have a 3 by 3 1/2. Okay, and they are going to be over B1. So this is B1 inside, and this is outside, and I'm going to put it over. Take tape off one. Well, maybe fold it first. And then you can take the tape off. And we are going to start right at the left side, right there. I'm going to turn it over so it will be nice and straight. And put it in the center, right along the line of B1 on the outer part, right there. Okay, let's fold and remove the tape of the rest of them. Well, fold them anyway. Now watch when you're putting the tape, if this is your fold, your tape is on the outside and not on the inside. Okay, these are all numbered B3. And we're gonna start putting them right under the other one. You see, this is the line, the 1/2 inch line where the previous one ended. This one will go right at that line. Here we go. Okay, so there is a 1/2 inch space between them. And you're gonna do the same with all the rest of them. Okay. Now, if you moved it a little bit and it ended up being a little too close to the fold and interrupts the closure, you can always just cut off the end. I happen to be like right smack right there on the line. So I'm all good there. Sometimes after you apply the parts, you need to cut and remove and adjust and straighten. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it open, and I'm going to put let me see, I have a pocket. I have an inside pocket, which is B6, and this is my pocket. It is 4.5 by 7. In the instruction sheet, you'll see that I put an S next to the 4.5. Okay, and I put 2 S's next to the 7. It means that I have 2 score lines on the 7, on the width of 7. And if I put 2 S's, it means I have to deduct 1/2 inch on each side, and the final size will be 6. Okay, so the final size of the pocket will be 6 by 4. All right, so I put tape already on the 3 sides, and now I just have to cut triangles where they meet. And when I'm doing pocket, I don't have to do it too far. I have to do it really right on the fold, because when I'm folding them, they will become, they will meet each other right there, and will give me a nice clean edge right there. If I don't cut the triangle, they will overlap, it'll be bulky, and it's not clean, and we really don't need that. Okay, so this is my pocket. All right, my pocket goes, is gonna go over, I think here. I have one pocket going here and one pocket going here on this side. But I have a little bit of an added step. I want to open a little circle here right in the center. So let's mark the center point of the pocket. And since it is just about 6 inches, I'm going to mark the center at 3 inches. I'm gonna take my circle punch and punch, but I'm not gonna do it like a real, like the whole way 3 inches. I'm gonna the whole way of half a circle. I'm gonna do it a little less. So if this is the full circle, I'm just gonna do it a little less than that. And here we have something like that. Very pretty. Okay. Towards the side. Okay. Okay, so I cut the corners, and I am now applied the glue. I apply the glue, and I'm putting it inside the section of the top flap. So this is my inside section, right? On the outside section, I have a waterfall, the inside section of the top flap. Now I'm just going to play with it a little bit before I remove the glue and put it, because I want to see what it looks like on this side. And I don't know if you can see, but when I flip it over, it is a little bit too long. See? And I can't glue it over the hinge, the area where it folds, because then it will interrupt the movement. So I'm holding it here. Okay, and I want to remove just a smidgen off of it. So let's use the trimmer. To watch it, my dogs decided to sit right behind my chair. So if I move my chair, I'll land right on their tail. They're so funny. And maybe adjust that circle a little bit more. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm ready to apply it. Okay, we take the glue off. Just removed it off one side for now. I'm going to turn it around so that I have better access to where I want it to go. Make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, this is B1. I don't know why it was already turned around. Make sure I'm putting it straight in there. Okay. Okay. Now over here, it just went a little bit too far to my liking. So I am going to remove the glue from here. I don't want it sticky. Okay. Okay, very good. This way, it'll close this way and this way. And now I have the bottom flap. And I have another pocket that I need to put on the bottom flap, and I'm going to repeat the same process again. I'm just going to cut the excess that I have here from the glue tape. Use a little more. Okay. And I'm going to do a little circle in this one as well. So the circle goes in the open side. Let's find the center. Okay. And the second one I'm going to put on the outer flap of B2. Okay. It's going to be on the outer flap. Okay. And now this is the, when this is open and this is closed, they're two opposites. Okay. Don't put it on the inside, because if you put it on the inside and you have something in your pocket, you will not be able to close it if it comes out. So you can only put things that are really small inside this pocket. But if you put it this way, where it faces towards the outside, you know, it doesn't matter. You can keep it closed even and still have things sticking out of it. It's not going to interrupt this pocket, and the other pocket is not going to get interrupted as well. Okay? They are both going to be facing this way. So on the outer pocket of B2, this is B2, this is the outer side. Okay, here we go. This is where it's gonna go. And again, turn it over. If it's too wide and you have a glue sticking out, just remove the glue. To remove the glue, just use a blade. Don't press the blade because the glue is, the layer is just so fine. And then you just peel it off. Okay, and this is done. Now we're gonna do the magnets, and the reason I'm putting the magnets now is because I don't want to forget them later, and I always forget the magnets. Cut them. Now, magnets are tricky. And this is what I want to do. I want to be able to close this like a buckle, right? So whenever it closes, we close this pocket, and then I close this, and then I'm closing the buckle this way and this way. So I want it to be here so that it will close, but not too tight. So that if I have things applied over here, I still want it to close nicely. I'm going to just take a piece of tape. And I'm using one thin magnet and one thicker. So the thicker is a little stronger. I want it to be somewhere in the middle. Over here. Let's say here. Okay, I'm putting the tape on the other side. And I'm taking the thicker one. It is a lot stronger. One second. I'm going to separate it. Okay. It is a lot stronger. So now it's sitting good together. And I'm just going to see where it lands. Over here is good. Okay, I'm just going to put a little piece of paper here. All right, this side is done. Let's go to side number 2. All right, side 2. We need C1 and C2. C1. Let's move my table so I can read you the measurements. C1 and C2, they are 6 5/8 by 3 7/8. And they are side flaps. When I say side flaps, I'm talking right and left. When I say top, it's this, and when I say bottom, it's this. So side flaps. And they are both the same. So before I remove the tape, we're going to measure it, because I think that we're going to have to cut them a little bit shorter than the measurements say. Because I don't want it like right on the edge. I want it just a little bit less. So before I change the measurement on my table, let's just see. I have 6 5/8. It's a little too much, because I wanted a little less than 6. All right, so let's trim about, I think 1/8 of an inch should do it. Okay, so now that I took 1/8 of an inch off, it should fit really nicely right over here. Great. I'm just gonna take that little chip out of here. I'm gonna put it right there in the center, close to the hinge, but not over it. And make sure it's nice and straight on both sides. And tighten. To make sure that the other one fits nicely and straight, I only removed a smidgen from the tape glue. I'm going to fit it over together to make sure it's straight. And then tighten it in the area where I removed the tape off. And now I'm going to just take the rest of it off. Okay. So now it's nice and straight. Okay, this was C1 and C2. Off to C3 and C4. C3 and C4 are going to be sitting on top of these two, like so, right in the center. So C3 and C4 are 5 and 4 1/4. And I scored the 4 1/4 side to have a length of 4 inches. And it should fit right nicely right on top of it here, so that I have the same width on both sides. Okay, so it will be flush with the top area right here. And it's supposed to be flush with this, but it's a little shorter for some reason. So I might just move it just a little smidgen lower. And put it right there. And do the same thing on the other side, so it mirrors each other. All right. So this was C3 and C4. Now we're going to C5 and C6. And it's the same exact thing we're going to do, but it's a little narrower once again. So the sizes of C5 and C6 are 4 and 4 1/4. I'm going to repeat and put them exactly in the center of the top flap, like so. And turn it over, just easier. Okay. So let's mark what I've done so far. Okay, this is C1, C2. This is C3, C4, and this is C5, and C6. Okay, great. The center part, I'm going to do 2 pockets, one on top of the other. And on top of the second pocket, I'm going to do an accordion piece. Okay, on top of C5 and C6, I have C10 and C11, okay, which will go over here as a belly band, but I'm not putting them yet. I'm going to first apply designer paper, and then I'll do the belly band. So I have those 2 pieces here. I'm just going to leave them on the side for now. All right, I'm going to do the pockets first. Now, even though the accordion is numbered C7, you can put it together, but you do not apply it because this will go on top of the pocket. So we're going to do the pockets first. And the first pocket that we're going to do is C9, which is the bigger one. And again, I'm going to punch holes in it, just like I did on the other 2 pockets. And it seems just a bit too wide. It seems like the width of this is 6 1/8. Let me see, it might be a little too wide. I am not sure why it came out so wide. Let me see, bottom pocket 7 1/4 by 4 1/2 is what I have written. This is 6. 7. Yep. It's a little too much. Over here, it cannot be that wide. Needs to be a little smaller. So the pocket, I want it to be I'm thinking if I should do it 5 3/4 or less. So if it's 5 3/4, this should be 6 1/4, 6 3/4. 6 3/4. Let me change the measurements here. Should be 6 3/4. Six and 3/4. Oops. Okay. And the top pocket should also be 6 3/4. Okay. And it's always a good idea, even after you receive the measurements, if something seems off, you know, always check before you apply it, before you remove the glue. Okay, so I am going to cut both pockets a little shorter to 6 3/4. Let me move this to the side for a minute. I'm gonna need to score it again too, which is fine. Yeah, it needs to be a half an inch shorter. Half an inch is a lot. Okay, let me score. All right, let me fold it first, and then I will put the glue on the third side. Got the triangles of the corners. There are always adjustments to be made, so I really am, I'm going to repeat myself and say that before you apply everything on top, you know, with the glue, because once you place it and the glue is there, forget it. You cannot remove and redo it. So always put it on dry, I call it. Make sure it matches and it's fine and it's sized right. And if you need to make adjustments, make adjustments, because every project is different. You know, an 1/8 of an inch here or 1/16 of an inch there end up changing everything. So, okay, so this is the center of this pocket. This is the center of this pocket. All right, and it's still dry. I can still measure it, which I'm going to do right now. I'm folding it. This is the small pocket. This is the large pocket. And before I remove any glue, I am going to measure it again. So measure it against each other. This will be one on top of the other, which is fine. And this will be in the center. Let's take the big one. It will sit right here. And try it. Fold it here. Fold it there. There are no disruptions. It's good on both ways. We're good to go. Okay? This looks really good. Let's put the glue on this side now. Okay, just remove the back part. Make sure it's centered. Take your time. Don't rush this. Okay. No, don't. Let me take that little excess glue from here before I bend the pocket over. Very, very lightly. done. We're going to do the same thing on the top pocket. We're going to put the top pocket on top of the first one. One way to avoid all these excess glue that always pops out is to use narrower glue. I'm using 1/2 inch glue over 1/2 inch hinges, but because of there's a fold and the fold takes away a little bit from the width, I always have excess there. And I don't like having glue popping up from this side, so I always put it a little closer to the other side so that I can remove it if necessary or where possible. Just a second, I want to remove this here. I can. Turn it around. Okay. Here we go. Gorgeous. Okie dokie. Again, I'm going over the areas where I don't want to remove the excess glue there. Okay. Yes. Even though it's really, we're going to cover it anyway. So it's not really necessary on these areas. Okay, so we're done with this. And now we're going to put the accordion here on top of this pocket. So I have four pieces here of C7. Okay, C7 is 6 by 4 and 4 1/4, I think. All right. By 4 1/4, yes. And I scored it here so that I will have 6 by 3 3/4 at the end. Well, it's coming out to just about they're all the same size. They're supposed to lay on top of each other flat. So after you fold it, just go gently around. Make sure they're nice and flat as much as possible. Okay, and the way you assemble it is you are going to alternate. If you're going to have the hinge on the right and facing bottom, you're having the hinge on the left facing the bottom. And then you have the hinge on the right again facing bottom, and the hinge on the left facing bottom. So they alternate. And that's how you're going to put it together. Now you want them and aligned nicely. So again, you remove just a part of the tape, not a lot, just a little bit, and hold it together so that they're aligned nice and straight. And when you're happy, press the area where you took the glue off. And then hold it and slowly remove the tape and tape it together. I'm just going to hold it together so then it's nice and straight and it doesn't move. Here we go. So when you close it, you only see one page. You're going to repeat with the other two the same way, but you're alternating. Now you're going to apply it on the right. Here you applied it on the left. Now you're going to apply it on the right. Okay, here we go. And you're going to do this one on the left again. Okay, so now you have 4 of them attached together, and the bottom is still unattached. The bottom one is still here, and this part will attach to the pocket on this side, so that when you lay them, they'll lay flat on top of it here, like this way. And you want to make sure again that they're all aligned and they are right on top of each other. But there's one little issue here. Again, I'm pretty sure for some reason I made this smaller. I don't know why. But it's all too wide. So I want to remove about 1/4 of an inch from them. Because when they close, I want it to be able to close nicely. So how about I'll just remove, I don't know, about 1/2 inch. It's quite a bit, but I don't think I have much of a choice. Just want to see out of curiosity on the other album that I've done as a test why the measurements are so off on this one. Okay, this is right. This is the flap. This is it. And this is my accordion. Okay. And for some reason it fits bigger here. Maybe I put the flaps a little too close. That's this one I put probably a little too close or something. Over here it's a little more on the outside, but okay, so here it is 6 and a little. It's a lot smaller. Putting it side by side. Did I cut this a little too small maybe? I probably just cut the base too small, then it throws everything off. 6, no, it's 6 inches. Okay. It's a mystery to me, to be honest. I don't know why the measurements are so off here. The base looks the same to me. Yep. I think I just put those 2 flaps a little too much to the center, and I took off the measurements. So you know what, I'm gonna leave it like that, I think. And when you do it again, just make sure to measure. Okay, so I'm going to cut off a little bit here so that it will fit nicely. Okay, we are good. And now I am thinking, now that I've done that, I'm gonna have to trim the designer paper that I've cut for it, but it's okay. I'd rather trim it and have it be looking good. You know? Okay. So now it's going to fit really nicely in there. Okay. I need 2 more. the blinds down. Evening time. Okay. So on the magnets, I have one thin one and one thicker one. I found out that two thin ones don't do a good enough job on keeping it nice and close. And so I use one very strong one and one not so strong, but strong enough. Okay, so the thin one I'm going to put on the top part of C1 and C2. Now also I have to consider that I have a magnet here, so they all have to match and not because we have north and south on magnets, and if you're using opposites, they, instead of attract each other, they reject each other. So that's not going to be good. I'm just going to find the right direction of which way I want it to go. Here we go. That's the right direction. Right, okay. So I want to put it in the center, just about here. This one will go about here. It's a little too close to the edge here. I need it to go a little further down so that I can wrap enough glue around it. Oops, so let's move it. Smidgen. Oops. This is better. Okay. So I have a tape here, and I will attach it here. All right, let's put another piece of paper in between. Okay. See, it's very, very strong. So it can go through several layers. And I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, now again, I have to make sure that it is on the correct side when I close it, that it's not going to interrupt with the direction. So I'm going to put it here. It's going to be this way. Okay, let's see, let's take another piece of paper here. Okay, good. Okay. Either way that you open it and close it, it'll close. And here it will not interrupt each other. Okay. Now there's another way, another option for me to put it closer to here. If I put it closer to here, then it will make a difference how I close it. You know what, I can put one here, close, and this one. Let me think, do I want it over here? And this way they'll both be here. They'll still close nicely. Then it's not going to be symmetrical. No, I like it this way. It's okay. It doesn't interrupt anything. Okay, so we're done with this. Let's put designer paper. Yay. Okay.